Hey everybody, Kyle Sasser here, Great Homes, Tampa Bay. I am a realtor with Keller Williams, also Tampa Bay native, and here to give you some home buying information. One thing a lot of buyers always seem to think is that your mortgage lender does not really matter. A bank is a bank is a bank. It's still the same dollar, right? Like $1 from this bank will spend just as well as a dollar from another bank. And it can be very attractive because, maybe it's a quarter or a half of a percentage point cheaper. What do I think whenever I see buyers with a major bank as a lender? Honestly, my first thought is that it's going to be a major, major headache. And here's why it should matter to you. And then I'll go into specifics of my experience in dealing with big banks as a mortgage lender for both my buyers as well as helping my client sell a property if the buyer on the other side is using a big bank. So the best way I can describe it is think of it like you planning this wonderful celebration, this beautiful dinner, book this amazing restaurant, and then you go to that restaurant and the service is absolutely terrible. By that I mean glasses are left empty for like 20 minutes. You never see the waiter or the server come around at all to find out how you were doing, or to give you an update on how your orders were going. They make you wait 30 minutes past your seating time, and that metaphor or simile or whatever it was, because honestly I didn't pay too much attention in English class, that is basically the experience that is typical with a larger bank. When I say large bank, I mean the big boys. So Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, any of these huge, huge, huge banks. Have they eventually delivered the money? Yes. However, it usually causes everybody involved, both the agents as well as the buyer and seller, a tremendous amount of stress. So let me give you some personal examples. And again, these are not one-time things. Like every time I have had to deal with these banks, it is similar experiences. Sometimes the time frames are a little longer or less, but the overall experience and service level is the same. So Bank of America had a loan, and everything started off great, very responsive in email, and that lasted for about 3 days. Unfortunately, contracts take quite a bit of time. They take 30 to 45 days. And after that time, it was a struggle to get any sort of answer out of them about the status of the loan. And then when I was able to get into contact with them, the answer was basically, I don't know, that is another department, which is crazy. Like the one thing that we need to know from financing is, hey, how's the loan application process going? Like, is everything still in line? And the reason why is because there is, in the contract, there is a deadline where, as a buyer, like if you do not have your financing in place, you can still cancel the contract and get all of your escrow money back. If things are just left to chance, you're really putting your escrow money at risk. And all the bank has to do is basically make that process transparent and communicate it with all parties involved. And it wasn't just me that they were ignoring. They were also not answering calls or answering questions from my client, the buyer, as well. So basically, it went all the way to closing day. And it kind of flipped back and forth between, you were good to go. Oops, nope, sorry, I forgot some stuff. We need this additional paperwork. Oh, we're good to go. Nope, oops, sorry, I need you to come back in and fill out all this other paperwork. We got all the way to closing day. Like everything should be worked out and resolved at least 4 days before the closing date. Like closing date should be the easiest thing possible. If you're running around on closing date still trying to get financing stuff completed, something is very, very broken in your process. So closing date comes around. I'm making calls. I'm calling managers. I'm calling the mortgage because title company is saying, hey, we're not clear to close. Financing has not given us a release to close this. Nobody answers my calls. So finally, at it was like 3:30 on closing day, we finally get the release from the bank. Now, keep in mind, it's not just signing papers. There's a few things that have to happen on closing day. The buyer has to wire in funds. Guess what? The buyer cannot wire funds unless the numbers have been cleared and approved by the financing. So at like 3:20, they get the finalized numbers from the title company because the bank had just gotten it over to them. To wire funds, there is a hard cutoff of about 4 p.m. where after 4 p.m., most banks won't even let you send a wire. And if they do take the wire, then they will hold it until the next day. Like they're not going to guarantee that the funds go that day, which means you're not closing that day. And this is all because the bank could not get the stuff processed on time. And again, this was a longer contract, like 40 days. There's no reason for it to take this long. I'll give you another example. Chase had the contract already running for about 3 weeks, and timelines weren't lining up for the buyer, for honestly both the buyer or the seller. So we did an addendum, extended it by 2 weeks. And even with that 2 week extension, Chase, instead of getting things done early, basically just let it sit there and didn't do anything on it. And the closing date was later in the year. So it went from originally December 10th or 12th, and then it got pushed through the holidays to December 28th or 29th. We basically get to 2 days before closing day. And again, we've been reaching out to people trying to get answers. Hey, what's the status of this loan? Hey, what's the status on this loan? I'm calling managers. I'm calling 2 tiers above managers. Finally, they get back to me. They're like, hey, sorry, this loan's not getting done. And it's probably not getting done anytime soon because there's nobody here during the holidays. And obviously, everyone's looking around at each other like, what the hell? And basically, that's what they stuck with. They were like, hey, sorry, don't know what to tell you. It's probably going to be at least an additional 2 weeks. So yeah, so that one did not close for another 2 weeks. Now, you're noticing a trend here. One is that the big banks, one, they're unresponsive. Two, they really aren't worried about closing one individual transaction. Usually they definitely have numbers to meet. They definitely have the money to do it, but they have all of these processes and things in place. And honestly, in my experience, even the frontline representative that your buyers are dealing with, the amount that they care only goes so far. In my experience, as soon as they have all of the boxes checked and they can push the responsibility or CYA or whatever you want to call it, as soon as they can pass the buck to another department or something, they absolutely will. Contrast that with a more local bank, so here in the Tampa Bay area, like Bank of Tampa, Bank of the Ozarks, they are very responsive. Even better than that, a local mortgage broker, someone who is able to provide loan services from a variety of sources. You get much more individualized service. They actually answer your calls. They definitely don't dodge them. They respond to emails and all that stuff. I can't tell you how many times I called Bank of America trying to get an update on this, and they literally apologized because they had been in meetings all day, and so they didn't have any update on on our loan, which is crazy. It's crazy. Do yourself a favor. You can certainly look at a bank as a baseline, but please, please, please look with a credit union, a smaller local bank, or a mortgage broker. Because here's the thing. You're like, well, hey, those deals all got done, so everything's good, right? Some of my clients have had to spend thousands of dollars to accommodate these timeline changes. Pods, like the people that drop the storage containers at your driveway, they don't care that the timeline has changed. They still want their money to change the deposit and the delivery charge. They charge to reschedule fees. If the closing date moves, the utilities can get all jumbled up, and then you got to pay for all that stuff. You can literally be homeless for days while you're trying to sort this out. So if you know that that restaurant has horrible service and the waiters do not care about any of the customers in there, that your food's going to arrive cold and your drinks are never going to be refilled, don't put a huge decision in their hands. Like, don't hold business meetings there. Don't have a birthday party there if you're trying to, have a good time with your friends. And definitely, if you're trying to buy a house, don't use a major bank. I hope that they watch this and can learn and improve on it, Because, hey guys, I promise you, the rest of the mortgage industry does not work like y'all work. You have a lot of room for improvement. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Kyle Sasser, and if you're looking for your own great place in Tampa Bay, I'd love to help you out. My phone number is 813-323-7396. Feel free to reach out to me there. I'll be happy to help you find a beautiful home in the Tampa Bay area. If you're outside that area, I can help you out as well. I got a big old network of realtors around the state and the country. And finally, if you'd like to reach out to me via email or whatever, there is a contact link below. Just fill out that form. That'll get to me. I'll be happy to answer whatever question you have. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment as well. I love your questions. Makes my job a lot easier, actually. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.